All right, so let's get into some stablecoin news today. There is a frenzy in the market, and some of the things that have been happening, of course, with PayPal. You've learned a little bit about that here on this show. But there's also starting to be some impacts on the rest of the crypto market. We'll try to break down maybe the winners and losers here that could play out. This is going to be a big one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Let's get into a couple of news stories today. And then I've got some clips that will line up for you that I think you guys will start to get how all of this plays into the future of crypto. And I think this is all a good thing, very bullish news. So let's start up here on the top. Watcher Guru says Fed is now going to require approval before state banks can issue, hold, or transact stablecoin payments. This, of course, is pretty good news because when you think about just the Fed, remember that they run all the supervisory activities, including FDIC insurance, all those kind of things for a bank, even the overnights. All that is handled through the Fed. So this approval, or the ability to get this approval, is a big deal. So the goal of the Novel Activity Supervision Program, is what they call it, is to foster the benefits of financial innovation while recognizing, appropriately addressing risk to ensure the safety and soundness of the banking system. The program will integrate into the Federal Reserve's existing supervisory process, meaning that banks will be able to get stablecoins approved, meaning you'll be able to grab a stablecoin within your banking system. Question would be, what kind of stablecoin would that be? Could it be a bank stablecoin? Could it be something like what PayPal is doing, or USDC, most likely going to be the culprit here? So a lot happening around this. All of this is good news because with stablecoin adoption, in my opinion, comes the adoption of crypto in general. And that starts to flow into Web3 activity and all kinds of other things. Let me jump over to another quick note here. According to Bernstein, this analyst, this is a stablecoin market will experience a massive rise. And he's basically saying, we think this thing's going to grow 22x in 5 years. Now, if you think about that, you're going from 125 billion to around 2.8 trillion. That's a significant growth in the market. Further in the article, major global financial and consumer platforms are expected to issue co-branded stablecoins. We've talked about that many times here on the show. It's going to happen. And then other potential stablecoin issuers like Amazon, Alibaba, Tencent, Apple, Google, others. I don't know if Apple will be in there. Maybe they will when they finally open up to crypto. We'll see. Report also states stablecoin regulation has more political support than crypto regulation. Very interesting. This is something we've talked about here on the show, as we felt like stablecoins would most likely get the first regulatory win. That still could be the case. If you go back to a lot of our videos where we broke down a lot of these hearings, go back to our playlist. Just check our channel. There's a big playlist in there of all the hearings. And I want you to watch the one with Maxine Waters and Patrick McHenry. Basically, it's the Dems and the Republicans going at it, and there was a little bit of slowdown on this. So the good thing is this may speed that up in the long term here. Further in the report also warns that stablecoins still face a number of challenges and risks, such as legal uncertainty, technical glitches, competitors, and hacking. You know, kind of like banks, they also face those same challenges. So I don't think this is really anything new. I want to get over to a clip, and this first clip we're going to go into is a little bit of the timing of how all this is transacting. Listen in.
What made you change your mind? Why now?
We do think that stablecoins are the killer app for blockchain technologies. Innate advantages in terms of cost and programmability and settlement time of stablecoins are something that we cannot just sit out. We see that there is demand for additional tokens in this space, and we see the regulation moving forward. And that combination of things maybe is the right time to step.
All right, some good things here. I think the fact that the timing is along with the demand, and I would agree with that. Speed of light transactions, the ability to move in a lot of different markets and across borders is going to be a pretty significant win on how stablecoins can be used. So that is a good thing. Let's go over to this next clip, which gets into the regulator pushback a little bit. Listen in.
Have you faced any pushback in developing the stablecoin? Because, I mean, PayPal is a very big company. We already saw that regulators around the world didn't let Facebook do this. Why are regulators going to let you do this?
We are a regulated financial institution. We have been in this business for more than 20 years. We are bringing to bear all the infrastructure that we have built over the years in terms of being regulated in multiple countries, in terms of risk management, in terms of compliance. And we think that that's a key asset that is a difference in the approach that we are taking.
I agree with that. You know, we've talked about that also, is that PayPal and many others that we've kind of hinted at here recently on the show is that there are some key players that will most likely get the ability to execute on this much faster. Obviously, any kind of money services business, such as PayPal, would be a natural. I think there will be some others that will be kind of the second tier that could be a natural evolution of potential stablecoins. So I think the fact that they're going to be able to get some regulatory clarity because of their current licensing and how they're set up as a money services business is a good thing. And I know that there's a lot of people on the fence about it. And I would love to get you guys' feedback. Is this for you? Is this a pro or a negative to what's happening in the crypto markets as a whole? Just let me know if you think it's bullish or bearish. Let me know. Drop some comments down below. I want to go over to another clip here, and this is talking about the PayPal stablecoin versus fiat and how they're going to be handling that. Listen in.
Why does this work better than fiat?
If you think that when you are doing payments with digital currencies, you can settle in times that range from seconds to minutes, when in traditional payment methods, sometimes you're sending a wire internationally, and that can take 3 to 5 days to settle. So when you are a merchant and you're intrigued about accelerating the time that it takes you to receive money, this has a very, very good application for that.
All right, so in my opinion, this will also be used by a lot of businesses. B2B payments will be a big part of this, being able to utilize PayPal. It's already kind of built into the e-commerce systems that are out there in a lot of the Web 2 formats as it is right now. But to be able to enhance that immediately and get immediate payments instead of ACH, which sometimes takes at least a 24-hour and sometimes longer if it's on a Friday, it's over the weekend. But he's right, wires are much longer, they're very costly. It's not immediate settlement, and you can't track it. So all of those are beneficial to taking this onto the blockchain. So I would agree with them. I want to go over to another clip here, and this is talking further about why this works for PayPal versus other stablecoins. Listen in.
How many more stablecoins do we need?
First of all, is obviously the access to our two-sided network. The second one where I think that we help is fiat connectivity. The ability to move quickly, to acquire PYUSD quickly from your PayPal balance and pay with your bank account or with your debit card, or when you want to sell it and take it out, be able to do it seamlessly. And last but not least, obviously the regulatory and compliance angle. As we said, we have been in this business for 20, 25 years.
All right, so I think he's hitting on the point that you've got almost 500 million users. Average balance, we showed this the other day in the PayPal video, average balance around $450 to $500 per user on average. When you think about that and how much money could go into a yield-bearing stablecoin, that's pretty significant. In fact, it would be significant enough that it could move the market in a very, very big way. So I think this all is pointing to one direction. Who wins this on the backside? Obviously, we've seen ERC20 being the core and kind of the backbone of most stablecoins, and obviously that is the case with PayPal's as well. But I'd love to kind of get you guys' thought. If we had to choose, whether it's Tether, USDC, a PayPal stablecoin, and I know we have people watching us from 165 countries plus, what would you choose? Would you choose Tether, USDC, PayPal? What would you go with? Listen to this clip, see what he had to say about that.
PayPal, it's bigger than Tether. So you could hypothetically outmarket them. Is that the goal here, to eclipse Tether, both in terms of market cap and mass use?
As of last weekend, I think there were about 120 billion in a stablecoin. We don't think that's where it stops. We expect that one of the things that this will do is to increase the pie and increase the move towards stablecoins.
All right, so, yes, that's what he means. They're going after Tether. That's what this is. You have half a billion people on this around the world. Tether is a much more global stablecoin, and I think it has the most to lose against PayPal if PayPal is successful. This doesn't automatically, and it's not an automatic slam dunk for PayPal because there's a lot here. The other thing that plays into this, and if you think about the future of how, just normal people out there that are transacting in small amounts, what is it that is being used the most? If you think about Venmo or even Zelle to a certain extent, we know the problem with Zelle. Venmo has some benefits. PayPal obviously owns Venmo, and there's a great tie-in here. This clip kind of explains how Venmo could be integrated in. So listen into this one.
You mentioned in the press release yesterday an imminent Venmo integration. What would that look like?
You will be able to send dollar-denominated value from a Venmo account to a PayPal account. That's something that is one of the most requested features from our Venmo users. They want to be able to send not only to friends on Venmo, but also to friends on PayPal. And importantly, it would also allow PayPal merchants to be able to receive value from Venmo users, and it opens a base of millions of additional customers for them. If you think of PayPal and Venmo as networks that have been sister networks but kind of separate, what we are doing with this is we are building a bridge between those two networks. And if you do believe that the value of a network increases with the number of members of those networks, now you are adding all of a sudden tens of millions of users that you can send to, that you can receive to, and millions of merchants where you can pay. So in terms of the network effects and the network economics and that flywheel of adding utility for a Venmo user, it allows you to very quickly be able to expand that base of friends, family, merchants that you can interact with the comfort of the Venmo account and the Venmo brand that you're used to.
Yeah, and I think with Venmo, you've got, of course, another 70, 80 million in use. And the advantage there, of course, is just simplicity. And the key here with any kind of stablecoin is how easy is it to access. Right now, if you want to get to USDC, most likely you're going to have to go through a Coinbase or other exchanges out there. This making it a simple process with an app you already have in your phone today, already set up, whether it's PayPal or a Venmo, this starts to open up I think the floodgates for where all of this is going to be going. And when you think about that, there's a couple other companies that are starting to maybe kick the tires. Microsoft and Aptos Labs teaming up on some new AI tools, and you'll recognize this a little bit. Remember Aptos Lab? They were the developer of the Layer 1 blockchain started by Facebook. And this was, of course, the company that scrapped Diem. Now, remember, Diem was formerly Libra, was one of the initial stablecoin ideas from a entity. So much like what is happening with PayPal, Facebook had attempted a different kind of scenario, and why it failed makes sense because it wasn't necessarily a money services thing. So anyway, Aptos, of course, surged on this about 15%, so it's up. Right now, Wednesday, the press release was pretty straightforward, leveraging Microsoft's infrastructure now to deploy some new offerings, basically with AI and blockchain tech. This will also include their new chatbot, which is an Aptos assistant, which will answer questions about the ecosystem, all that good stuff. AI and blockchain tech are quickly converging. This is something I have talked about for quite some time. You have two major technologies starting to merge together, and that, of course, is AI and blockchain. I want to go to this clip right here also, which gets into how gaming will play into this, especially from Apple. Listen in.
You mentioned that stablecoin being used for payments in online games and other Web3 apps. Is Web3 gaming a meaningful part of your business that you're planning for?
If you think about mainstream games, mobile games, games that you would play in your console, that economy is about $100 billion in digital goods that get transacted today. And if you are a developer who are selling digital goods in any of these platforms, with the current payment infrastructure, it can take you up to 15 days to receive your proceeds. That's where those advantages for micropayments, for streaming payments, for things like accelerated settlement can be applicable in the whole gaming ecosystem, way beyond the early stage Web3 games that are available today. This is an ERC20 token. It is deployed on the Ethereum network, so it's very easy for mainstream exchanges and wallets to go and support it.
All right, so he hit on a couple of points there. Obviously, ERC20, Ethereum, this is going to bolster the Ethereum network. It's only going to continue to help validate the network as a whole. The other thing he mentioned kind of casually was streaming payments. Streaming payments is a significant advancement in terms of how creators will get paid. This, I think, will apply to many other industries, but gaming will be one of the biggest, and that comes from, of course, the game makers and eventually maybe even content creators. So there's a lot here that does apply to the future of this. This goes right at the heart of what Apple has been all about. If you look at this post here from Watcher Guru, Supreme Court rules that Apple can continue to tax the app developers 30% on revenue generated through its app store. I think this is just a matter of time before Apple is either one, going to meet with some pretty significant competition, or two, creators and game makers and app developers just choose to go elsewhere, especially as Web3 develops. I also want to go over to another clip here on kind of the integration of ESPN and how this might play out. Listen in.
That's right, Melissa. Disney is making its biggest move yet into betting as ESPN for the first time is launching a betting sportsbook. It's partnering with Penn Entertainment to relaunch its Barstool branded sportsbook as Penn is now divesting entirely of Barstool Sports. The new service will be called ESPN Bet, and it will be ESPN's exclusive betting platform launching this fall in the 16 states where sports betting is legal. With Penn paying ESPN $1.5 billion in cash and granting $500 million in shares. So this deal isn't just about the cash payment and stock upside. It's also about greater engagement that's expected from ESPN viewers once it's easier to bet on the games they're watching. This comes after CEO Bob Iger said he would be looking for minority partners to take a stake in ESPN as it navigates cord cutting. That Disney is in talks with the NBA, the NFL, MLB, and NHL to potentially be the ones to make an investment.
All right, so why we put that clip in there is to try to help kind of tie this together as to what the future of these stablecoin opportunities are. This could be a big deal for Disney because of the ability to get to payments much faster. And think about this, if you've got a stablecoin use in it, whether it's a PayPal account or other, the integration into this is going to be almost lightning speed. So that in itself is already going to see a huge use case. And obviously we've already started to see a little bit of the strategy that Disney is doing with Barstool Sports is Dave Portnoy backed away, or I shouldn't say backed away, but they repositioned the deal with Penn. That has now started to flip over. This will be a big deal for the future of how online and maybe even Web3 integrations start playing into it. I think ESPN might get saved here, even though I have been a big proponent that I just didn't think they were going to be able to make it through. Maybe not so much anymore. There might be some strategies that are building up here. Now, who else is going to be affected by all of this? Because remember, we're looking at Ethereum, obviously, the network. We're looking at all sorts of integrations from retailers, this deal with what's happening with Barstool Sports, ESPN, what that might mean for that industry. All of this is all based on payments, how quickly you can get paid. Gemini comes in and simply says, hey, listen, we're still expressing some excitement about XRP, because remember, XRP, still one of the best, Ripple, one of the best payment ecosystems out there in terms of cross-border payments. So that is another factor that plays into this. It's not something that I think will go away easily. And now the question is, how does this compete with a stablecoin? That's the real question that I think will play out here. But you can kind of see just people playing a little bit, obviously waiting for Gemini to list XRP. I want to go over to a clip here from Mark Yusko. And Mark kind of breaks down a little bit of information about XRP. He doesn't talk about XRP much. So this is a good clip for you guys to listen in on. Let's take a look.
I struggle with XRP, and I take a lot of grief for this, in the communities. I'm open to the idea that it's a better rail, and that if you could get banks and brokerage firms and insurance companies and the like to integrate it, it could work. But at least so far as I can tell, there's very little evidence. There's lots of announcements with very little behind it. And they also Judge Torres made the right ruling that all of the things like between you and I aren't securities. That's clearly the right answer, even though the SEC is appealing that and says, you're wrong, Judge Torres, but she's right. I don't see any real major adoption that anyone's pointing to the same way, people can point to Ethereum or even Solana has had some big design wins.
All right, I would agree with Mark 100%. He's been on our show many times. I think he and I pretty much are in alignment there. The only difference is I think the adoption speed now just got supercharged. And there's many reasons for this. We'll do a video here soon on what's happening with Base over at Coinbase and why that's important. But the big deal here is that XRP is still a big framework of what payments will be for big entities. PayPal coming in with this stablecoin also starts to open up some very intriguing factors that will connect to a lot of industries. Now, with all that's happening right now, I always look to the FUDsters. And of course, one of the articles out there is illegal activity on Ethereum rising, nearly 2% in the last week. So now I just want to say this is that this is a Bitcoin only style publication. And I'm a big Bitcoin fan, don't get me wrong. But I don't like to see Bitcoin-only organizations not really report on a much more broader industry, because this is really a broad industry now. And if maybe you're here for the first time and you're trying to figure all this out, what I want you to do is keep your eyes open. Don't get caught in these narratives that are just very singular. And it can happen. You can become an ETH maxi, you can become a Bitcoin maxi, you can become an anti-Web3 person. What I want you to do is remember the technology. Technology drives everything. Metcalfe's law will drive adoption, and adoption does not matter because it's going to just be a matter of time before we start to see all of this play into everyday life. And what PayPal is doing is a big step in that right direction. So anyway, let's get into a couple of points before I bail. One thing is, of course, Coinbase. If you look at it, this might be an interesting time. I don't know. I'm looking at this stock a little closer because Coinbase is getting ready to do some interesting things. But of course, I think the big factor here is the Ethereum ecosystem as a whole. That's the bigger point that I'm looking at, and what those futures are, whether it's projects or ETH, the token itself. Let me know what you guys think. I always love to get your feedback. Make sure and drop some comments down below. It's really an easy thing for us to do. We read all the comments, so just do that. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure and subscribe right now. Click that little notification bell. It'll give you notifications when we go live. Also, if you are not in our Diamond Circle, make sure and get in. Click the link down below. It's a very easy way to get involved with us. We do an additional podcast, more content over there. If you guys want to reach me, it is out there on Twitter @PaulBaron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.